Hi students, welcome to Vidyanagar online classes. As you all know, in our last class we have discussed about the advantages and disadvantages of friction. That means in some situation friction is useful for us and in some situation friction is not useful for us. So depending upon the situations, we can increase the friction or we can reduce the friction. Whenever friction is necessary, we can increase the friction, and whenever friction is not necessary, we can reduce the friction. So today, first of all, we are going to discuss the topic that is increasing and reducing friction. So first of all, let us talk about the increasing friction. So what do you think? In which situation we want to increase the friction? Yes, we want to increase the friction whenever it is desirable for us, whenever it is necessary. So how do you think we can increase the friction? Yes, we can increase the friction by making the surfaces rough. For example, treaded tires. If you look at the structure of the tires very closely, you will find that they have certain patterns. And due to these patterns, the surface of the tires become rough and it moves very well on the road. The chance of slipping is very less. So, the vehicles move very well with the help of these treaded tires. So in this case, we deliberately increase the friction as per our requirement. Not only in the case of treaded tires, if you look at the soles of the shoes, they also have some patterns. And due to these patterns, they have a better grip with the ground and we move safely. So in this case also, we increase friction as per our requirement. Okay, then we also increase friction by using brake pads in the brake system of our bicycle or automobiles. And then you might have seen the Kabaddi players, they also rub their hands with the soil. Why they rub their hands with the soil? They rub their hands with the soil to increase the friction so they have better grip with their opponents. Okay, so in this case also friction is increased deliberately. And even the gymnasts apply some rough substances into their hands so that the friction increases and they have better grip. So in all these cases, we deliberately increase friction as per our requirements. Okay, but there are certain situations where friction is undesirable, where friction is not necessary. So in these situations, we want to reduce the friction. For example, we apply powder on the carom board. Why we apply powder on the carom board? Because the surface of the carom board would become smooth and the movement of the coins would be smoother and quicker. So in this case, we reduce the friction. You might have seen in our homes, we apply few drops of oils on the joints of the doors and windows. Why we apply it? We apply it to decrease the friction, to reduce the friction so that the movement of the doors and windows would be smooth. So in this case also, we reduce the friction. We also try to reduce the friction in machinery parts by applying grease. When we apply grease, the surface turns into smooth and the friction would be less. So in all these cases, we reduce the friction. Okay? And the substances which are used to reduce the friction are called lubricants. What are lubricants? The substances which are used to reduce the friction are called lubricants. But sometimes it is advisable not to use oil as a lubricant. An air cushion between the moving parts is used to reduce friction. Okay? Now I want to ask you, can friction be entirely eliminated? Can friction be entirely eliminated? No, friction can never be entirely eliminated because no surface is entirely smooth surface. Okay? Now let us talk about wheels reducing friction. You might have seen that our luggage bags are fitted with rollers, and because of that, even the child is able to pull the luggage bags easily. Why is it so? When one body rolls over the surface of another body, the resistance to its motion is called rolling friction. And rolling reduces friction. Rolling reduces friction. It is always easier for us to roll a body than to slide a body over another body. And because of this reason, it is convenient for us to pull the luggage bags fitted with rollers. And this rolling friction is even smaller than the sliding friction. Rolling friction is even smaller than the sliding friction, and because of this reason, in most of the machines, sliding is replaced by rolling. Common examples are the use of ball bearings between the hubs and the axles of the ceiling fans and bicycles. Now our next topic is fluid friction. Till now we have discussed about friction associated with solids. But fluids also exerts friction. First of all, you should know what is fluid. The common name of gases and liquids is fluids. Okay, what is fluids? The common name of gases and liquids is fluids. So fluids also exerts friction on an object in motion through them. And the frictional force exerted by fluids is also called drag. What is drag? The frictional force exerted by fluids is also called drag. And the frictional force on an object in a fluid depends upon the shape of the object and the nature of the fluids. So it is obvious that when an object moves through fluids, it has to overcome friction. And in this process, object loses energy. So efforts are made to minimize the friction, and objects are given certain special shapes. If you look at birds and fishes, they have to move about all the time in fluids. So their bodies have certain special shapes to overcome that fluid friction and to lose less energy. Now if you look at the shape of an aeroplane, do you find any similarity between the shape of an aeroplane and the shape of the birds? Yes, their shapes are quite similar. Scientists have designed the shape of an aeroplane similar to that of the shape of the bird, so that the fluid friction gets reduced. So we can say that fluid friction can be reduced by giving certain special shapes to the object. In fact, all the vehicles have certain special shapes. All the vehicles are designed to have certain special shapes to reduce fluid friction. So that is all about fluid friction. So what are the topics which we have covered today? First of all, we discussed about increasing and reducing friction. Then we discussed about wheels reducing friction. And finally, we discussed about fluid friction. So that's all in today's class. Thank you.